Welcome to the Collaborative. I'm your host, Sydnee Walker. Today we are joined by Molly McManimie. She's an NFL player agent and director at Wasserman Media Group. In addition to on-the-field representation of multiple draft picks and NFL starters over the last decade, Molly has also negotiated millions of dollars in off-the-field partnerships for NFL players and for former U.S. women's national team star Julie Ertz. She obtained her undergrad degree from Cal State Long Beach and law degree from Chapman University. Welcome. First up, we have Sid's This or That Football Edition. I'll give you a few options and you'll tell me your preference and why.
Got it.
First, go to a game or watch on TV.
Oh, this is gonna be a bad answer as an agent, but I'd rather watch it on TV.
I understand it's nice to be on your couch, have
Yep.
your own food, be able to do what you want while you're watching the game.
Yep.
Wings or nachos?
Nachos.
I'm with you on that. Indoor stadiums or outdoor stadiums?
Ugh, I like indoor for a couple reasons. I like that they get loud and I can go any time of year and not have to worry about the weather. I can dress however I want.
I agree. And I'm in Atlanta, so I grew up going to Falcons games. I had the dome. And even now at the new stadium, all the games I've been to, they haven't opened the roof. So I've gotten lucky.
Yeah, I think every new stadium from here on out should be a dome. We shouldn't even mess around anymore.
And last but not least, regular season or playoffs?
Oh, I mean, playoffs. Just so fun.
This year, the regular season's been really exciting, but
Yeah,
usually, so with that.
the playoffs feel the most wide open they have in a long time. So I'm excited about that.
So, Molly, let's kick this off by talking about your childhood. You grew up going to UCLA football games with your family and even compared yourself to Cheryl Yost, the football obsessed daughter, and Remember the Titans. When did you realize you could not only enjoy sports, but make it a career?
I think it honestly wasn't until I was in college, which is kind of late in the game. I am 32 years old. So, I was in college, sheesh, like 15 years ago now almost. And before that, there was minimal social media. Facebook kind of had just gotten started and, MySpace was a thing, but you didn't really have Twitter until I was graduating high school. When I first got into college and, these social medias where you kind of can see people play out and live out their lives. So I didn't really see a lot of women doing anything in football. I had considered coaching basketball because I played basketball growing up, but as far as like a professional career on this side, on the business side, I didn't honestly, it never crossed my mind. So I mean, other than maybe watching Any Given Sunday and seeing Cameron Diaz's character, that was like pretty much it. So truthfully, it wasn't until college when I had transitioned into realizing I loved football so much I wanted to work in it out of wanting to be a teacher and a coach, or like my original plan was, and talked to someone who was a lawyer and she kind of made the connection for me. So it's kind of late compared to some people.
That's good because in college, you have the opportunity to discover what you like and don't like. So it's good that you're able to discover that in college.
Yep, absolutely.
So oftentimes in sports, you have to take on a variety of roles, including the less desirable jobs sometimes. Can you speak on the importance of being adaptable within the industry?
Yeah, I actually think that's probably one of the number one qualities you need to have to be a good agent. Just knowing that, first of all, the industry is going to change, but also that you don't always know the best way to do something. And you're going to have clients that come from different backgrounds, different, family situations. They're going to have different, strengths and weaknesses. And so you can never do things the same way twice. And while obviously experience is something you build on and you use and you kind of learn what works and doesn't work, there's always this sense of you need to be willing to be open-minded to do what's best for the client at that time. So like, for example, right now we're in the beginning of draft prep for the 2024 draft, and everybody just moved into their combine facilities last week. And not everyone goes to the same place and not everyone has the same plan because some are going to the Senior Bowl and some aren't. And some we opt out of an all-star game because they need to run really fast and they don't have as much time to accomplish that. So, between that type of stuff. And then, the bigger things like NIL coming into the picture, and how social media shapes our job, and, all these different things that trickle in. You have to be adaptable, because you'll get kind of left behind if you don't, or you'll end up making a decision that isn't best for that particular client, which will lead to long-term conflict, or you guys leave money on the table.
I love how you say you'll get left behind, because it's so important to keep up on trends these days. And I always hear people say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to leave and be around more people who are challenging your thoughts.
My boss says that all the time. He's the only one in our office that doesn't have more than a bachelor's degree, because he got grandfathered in and didn't need to get one when he became an agent with the NFLPA. So like that's something that's been ingrained in me by him since I joined, because I had a law degree and he didn't. And everybody else in our office has something, a master's, a law degree, all that. And it really helped me from the beginning realize that humility plays so much into it. And it's not that if someone else is better than me at something, or they have a different strength, that it's going to pull away from me. It's that it's going to be better for the client if we can all collaborate and we all have different things going on. So that is absolutely such a key, I think, to longevity in this business, is knowing that you need to be surrounded by people who have different strengths than you.
And speaking of the NFL draft, every year so many young men wait to hear their name called at the draft. As an agent, the work begins well before April. What is the process like to land a client, and how do you get a player to trust you?
Man, first part of that question is the process, like I just talked about, is different for every guy. I wish there was a one size fits all formula to land clients, but there's not. You have to, it depends on the client. I mean, there's been guys that we've ended up working for that we only had one meeting with late in the year, and that was it. And then there's guys that I recruited for 2 years before they came out, and that's a long time to sustain a relationship that can end at any moment. So it depends on the guy, depends on the situation. There's guys that you'll recruit for 6 months to a year, and then they'll decide to go back to school. So that's why you'll have to keep recruiting them throughout the year. But the process of that for me personally is building that relationship and that trust, and just kind of finding ways to show them that you are who you say you are, and showing up as you can within the rules, and providing them any type of honesty, transparency that they're looking for, so that they know when we come to December and January, they're ready to make that decision to sign with you. And I think as far as getting them to trust you, for me, what has been successful is being myself, in the sense that I think so many people try to fit into the mold of what agents already are, and which is, quite frankly, old white men, and like the way they've done things. And that didn't work for me, because I'm not that. And so when I learned to be myself and figure out what strengths I have, that really helped, because when you're being authentic, it's easier to trust you. So it's not that I was ever trying to be fake or lie or, be someone I'm not, but I thought that they were looking for something in particular. And so I was afraid to lean into my youth or me being a woman. And now I gravitate towards the guys who that gravitates toward that. So, a lot of the guys that I end up working for, I mean, I think every person in their life has a woman in their life that gets stuff done, because women get stuff done. If you know what I mean. But once I kind of figure out, what their relationship is like with that in their life, it's easy for me, because they realize what a natural fit it is to have a woman as your agent. Because if their mom or their sister or their girlfriend or their wife is the person in their life that they're used to calling, when they need something, then they realize this actually really fits, because, we have similar qualities being women. And so it's just kind of showing up as yourself and being authentic, and then doing what you say you're going to do. And so in the recruiting process, you can't, buy them things, or, do some of the things you might do as an agent once you can. But before that, you can simply, call when you say you're going to call, and text when you say you're going to text. And if you tell them you're going to get information, get the information, and at least just follow up if something isn't accessible. And so just doing what you say you're going to do builds that confidence that if I say something, about what I can do for them as an agent, they believe me, because I've been, doing that up until that point.
Thank you for sharing. And I'm so glad you touched on having a woman in the room because I was just thinking to myself, a lot of the guys are close with their mom, grandma,
Mhm.
girlfriend. And I know Jalen Hurts has an all female team, which is awesome to see. So it's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Some great women on his team.
So, transitioning into work life balance, your life can be extremely busy, but it's also important to take time for yourself. Outside of work, what do you prioritize to avoid burnout?
Honestly, like I have a small group that I meet with every Wednesday. We do life together. It's my Bible study group. I don't miss it unless, there's something that has, the combine, those types of things that it's just it's part of the job. But if I can, I try to schedule meetings around that because it really fills me up. And it keeps me grounded in what is my why, which is to serve. I go to church every Sunday if I'm home, and I read my Bible every day. And I have a community of what I call like wise counsel of, 4 or 5 people that kind of know the ins and outs of this business to an extent, even if they're not agents, maybe they're in the business in another way. That either they have the values that I strive for. And so I know that if they're giving me advice, it's coming from a good place, or they are believers like myself. And so I know that, they pray for me and all that and help me through that stuff. And I'm really fortunate that I work for someone who from day one always told me, you'll never miss a birthday, you'll never miss a wedding, you'll never miss Christmas, because nothing matters, beyond our family. And so my boss, Steve Carrick, has just been the ultimate, not just like cheerleader of that, but the example of that. And, he has kids and I don't have kids yet, but he shows me, you can do this and still you pick your kids up from school every single day. He leaves the office at 2:45 every day, goes and picks up his kids and, does what he needs to do in the car or whatever. And he doesn't miss his son's football games. And, when you like prioritize that, I think that the right clients respect that. And if they don't, then it's okay to say that you're not a good fit. And there are clients out there who will not just respect it, but they'll actually admire it and they'll appreciate it because they see that that's a value of yours. And so it's just like, kind of having this hard line of I will pretty much be available whenever, but if it comes to my family and it's an event of some sort, if I'm not going to miss my niece's birthday. I'm not going to miss my sister's wedding. I might answer my phone if I'm available at those things, but I'm not going to not be there. And so just establishing that from the beginning to, like in my first meetings with these guys before they ever signed with me. So there's not this, switch on them. They know who I am going into it. And then I know when we're in the thick of it, they can think back and say, this is who she's always been. So she's not, trying to avoid me. She's just at church or whatever it is.
That's really great to hear that your company also prioritizes that as well, because sometimes
Yep.
it can be hard, but everyone knows got to take care of your family. And also, if someone needs,
Well, and I'm a manager now too. And so, it was important for me to learn that because the sports industry is so tainted in that sense that you have to work 12-hour days or you're going to get left behind. And, you should, take a really low salary and move across. Like there's so much sacrifice that they say you have to do, which is not untrue. But there's some things that I think as managers and as, higher ups, we can say we had to do that, but I don't want the next generation to have to do that because it really like you should, if you need to be at the office 12 hours a day, you're not efficient. You should not need to be there 12 hours a day to do your job. And so like I have an employee now who's 21 and I want her to have that same experience of still getting to be 21 and, spend time with her boyfriend and her family because she did move across the country for this job. And so when she wants a Friday, to fly over there, I give it to her because she gets her work done. But it's established this culture from my boss that's now trickled down that, when we're able to, we let people spend time away from the desk because, the work will be there when we get back.
lastly, we have people within our community who are either currently in law school or pursuing a career as an agent. In an industry that can be so cutthroat sometimes, how can they separate themselves from the competition?
Figure out really like what makes you you. And if you are going into this business because you really feel like it's your calling and it's what you're supposed to do, then you have a unique purpose. And once you figure that out, that can kind of help you distinguish, well, if there's already X amount of people that are doing this, why is like my presence in this industry going to make a difference? There has to be some quality about you that you think is going to present something better or different, or just in general, something that brings value. So figuring that out and understanding that what's for you then will come to you because you're being yourself and you're being authentic. And if it's not for you and it passes you by, then it wasn't for you. And that's okay, because I've had that situation. I've had a client that I knew from the beginning, I was kind of forcing the relationship to work. And so when it didn't work out, I looked back and I know now I should have honored that gut feeling from the beginning, instead of feeling like I had to say yes to everything, because it is so hard to get clients in this business and it is so hard to make it in any facet of this industry. But know that like desperation is never the answer. So if you're feeling like you need to take a job or do something within that job or work with a client or keep working for a bad boss or something that you're doing out of desperation to either stay in a certain industry, get in an industry, stay relevant, not make someone else upset, just know that like honor your gut feelings, because your intuition will tell you if something is not for you. And that just means that there's something else for you that is going to take that spot. And so just knowing that, you don't have to do it all at once. You can take your time. Especially if you're in school right now, like you said earlier, like Sydnee, it's such a unique opportunity in college to figure out what you do and don't like. College is so fun. Law school to me was a blast. I know that sounds crazy. Grad school is supposed to be fun because you're learning about the things that you're passionate about most of the time, and you're around students that care and that are passionate about that topic as well. And it's this unique opportunity to try things and to figure out what you're good at and what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. And again, honoring those things. So if you go to an office setting and you just realize like, I cannot do a 9 to 5, then that's okay. Then write that down in your column of things that are a must have for you. So maybe for you, a job that you must have is something that's either hybrid, remote, or you travel a lot. And if you're someone who you think you like to travel, but every time you get on a plane or you're in a hotel, you're miserable, then maybe you don't like to travel, and that's okay. And maybe you're more of an office person. And if you're someone who like your biggest desire is to be a mom and a wife, but you still do want to work in sports, there's room for that too. You don't have to take the job that requires everything from you. So just like really figure out who you are and be okay with it, and be okay with that being different than the person next to you or what you were told we were supposed to do. There's so many things now at 32. I realized in my 20s, I was just pretending to like, because I thought I was supposed to. Like hiking sucks. I'm sorry, but I don't like to hike, and that's okay. But there's things like that within your career that you can really figure out, like, what is my quality of life I'm looking for? And there's a job for you in sports that fit those values. So don't settle, keep looking. You can take until you're 45, 50, 60 years old to figure it out. So there's no rush. Just honor yourself.
Those are all great lessons. Thank you. Molly, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure to hear from you. This was an incredible way to kick off the new year. And this is also the start of year 4 for our sessions. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. You dropped a lot of valuable advice for our audience. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I love what you guys are doing.